It is the definition of rivalry, and there's no more appropriate use of the term rivalry than when it is applied to Atlantic Coast Conference basketball. Two teams with storied pasts going head-to-head have much more to prove than just winning. Pride and bragging rights are on the line, playing an all-important role in the historic equation that has made ACC basketball what it is today. So join us on a 26-mile ride down Tobacco Road for the 200th meeting between ACC rivals rich in basketball tradition. It's another Duke-NC State Classic. Next.
It's just neighborhood basketball. On Tobacco Road, the Duke Blue Devils and the Wolfpack of North Carolina State in the ACC at venerable Reynolds Coliseum. We are live. Hello, everyone. Along with Dan Bonner, my tag team partner, I'm Tim Brando. Great to have you with us for what really is a game involving two tradition-rich programs. When you consider that you ride the bus in this league rather than take airplanes many times, that's what this rivalry is all about, and this the 200th renewal.
Well, this rivalry is all about winning basketball games, Tim, and these teams traditionally have won a lot of games, but tradition's not going to win the game tonight. They've got to have some people make plays.
Duke's inability to really close games has really been a central theme for Mike Krzyzewski. It's really been the only problem. They've been very competitive, just not at the end.
The kids play hard. They just haven't been able to get over the hump, if you will. They actually led by double figures in 3 of those 4 games. For Duke, it's been a matter of not getting everything hitting on the same cylinder the same night. Greg Newton doing a great job all year, but in the loss to Virginia, he was only 3 for 8, and he's got a tough matchup tonight.
While he leads the ACC in field goal percentage, you'll understand if that's his number one priority. His number one priority is stopping Todd Fuller tonight, a guy that is the leader for the Wolfpack.
Not only is he the leader for the Wolfpack, but I think you can clearly say that Todd Fuller is the best senior center in college basketball. He leads the ACC in scoring, but for the Wolfpack to be very effective, Fuller cannot be a one-man team. He can't take 50 shots a game. He needs some help. Jeremy Hyatt, Pinkins, Danny Strong, they have done a nice job, particularly in the game against Florida State, providing that opportunity for help. And I think North Carolina State has to use Fuller, but they have to have a balanced attack as well.
Neither one of these teams are used to propping up the rest of the league. And for both of them, in March, they might look back at this game way back in January as being the one that turned it around.
Well, without any question, these are fun games. This is a great rivalry.
When we come back, we'll have the opening lineups as NC State and Duke get together for the 200th time in the ACC.
ACC basketball is brought to you by Nations Bank.
Bell South. First for Mike Krzyzewski's Duke Blue Devils. This will be his 6th different starting lineup this year. Price and Carmen Wallace will be at the forwards with Newton in the middle. Capel and Collins will be in the backcourt. For the 16-year head coach, Coach K, now 9-6, looking for that elusive first win in '96. Les Robinson's team looks this way. Danny Strong, who they expect big things from, will be joined by the three-point sharpshooter Jeremy Hyatt at the forward spot. The aforementioned Fuller in the middle with Oshua Benjamin and Curtis Marshall in the backcourt. Les Robinson, 1965 alumnus here at NC State, got his first job from Coach Case. He knows all too well what this matchup between Duke is all about. And we'll have it for you right after this word from Bud Light. Six miles apart in the series, this being the 200th meeting. Duke leads at 102-90. Interestingly, they've won 9 of the last 11, yet it was NC State that swept them during the regular season last year, although in the play-in game during the ACC tournament last year, it was Duke that knocked off North Carolina State. Now, neither of these teams want to be part of that history in the ACC tournament play-in game again. You can rest assured of that. Larry Rose, Stan Rote, Bob Donato, our officials. And we are underway in Raleigh. tap is controlled to Duke. Collins opens up with Marshall checking it.
Man-to-man defense.
They're going with Wallace tonight to be a bit more athletic against this North Carolina State team that does have more depth than the Blue Devils. And Capel opens with the first basket of the game, and it's 2-0 Duke.
North Carolina State really looks to push the ball up the court. Let's see if against the set defense they can get the ball into Fuller's hands.
Fuller with a little high-low game for Hyatt. Capel got his hand in there. And here's Wallace with numbers. 3-on-2. And he makes it count.
That's a pretty impressive move by Wallace. You know, Tim, you get a start, and you got to go out there and you feel like you have to produce right away, and he just took that ball right up over Todd Fuller. You mentioned that they have him in the game to be a little bit more athletic. Well, he showed you some athletic skill right there, holding off Fuller with the left hand and getting the ball in the basket.
Would have been very easy to make a poor pass or to force a pass in that situation. Hyatt with the dump down to Fuller. With the double team. Can't hit. And Strong with a strong left-hand tap in.
Got to keep him away from the backboards, but that's a good sign for Les Robinson. Strong going to the basket early.
Wallace again. Strong move with a ball fake added to it. And it's 6-2 Blue Devils.
Got to move your feet on defense, and Danny Strong did not that time. And Wallace, once again, fearlessly takes it right at Fuller.
Hyatt, poor pass that time, forced it. And here's Collins on the other end. Chris also guilty of forcing it a bit. North Carolina State looking to push. Joshua Benjamin has been struggling with his shot during the course of this season. Good find of Hyatt. And that's the thing that he can do. Maybe his scoring isn't there, but Benjamin does have an all-floor game.
That's about making decisions, Tim, and he passed up a shot and then made a good pass, and so that was a good trip down the floor for Benjamin.
Just over 2 minutes deep from Reynolds Coliseum. Blue Devils leading it by 2. There's the pressure leading to a near turnover.
That is outstanding hustle by North Carolina State. Capel sort of gave up on that ball, but Benjamin didn't. Now, the shot clock does not change because possession didn't change, so Duke only has 8 seconds left on the shot clock.
Newton baseline. Strong move by Greg Newton.
Have to be impressed with the way Duke is just fearlessly attacking the basket early in this game.
So far, NC State unable to get Fuller posted up. Again, the quick double team. Collins there to give help. You have to love the offside defensive help that Duke is giving on Todd Fuller.
One of the things that North Carolina State isn't doing is getting good movement on the offensive end. Here's Collins. They are getting good movement, particularly in transition. Newton just takes the ball strong to the basket. North Carolina State has not been able to set the defense.
Marshall on the wing. Strong kept it alive. Last touched by Danny Strong, and it's out of bounds to the Blue Devils.
Now, that was the first three-point attempt of the game for North Carolina State. And against ACC competition, Tim, the Wolfpack hitting only 24% from three-point range.
Still, though, not shy about airing it out. Les Robinson has made good use of the three during his tenure here. And a steal by Benjamin. Strong, a pull-up.
This is what North Carolina State did in the second half of Saturday's game against Florida State. They struggled on the offensive end, so they turned it up defensively.
Wallace raises the iron. High at the outlet. Fuller the trailer. Rejected by Newton.
And that is the second time that Newton has gotten a shot by Todd Fuller. Sometimes if you're struggling on the offensive end, you create offense with your defense. Here, Benjamin gets the ball, makes a good pass to Strong. That's turning a turnover into a basket.
Damon Domzalski and Steve Wojciechowski have come into the game for the Blue Devils. Newton again, this time. Larry Rose says there was some body contact in lieu of that retention, but you have to be pleased if you're Mike Krzyzewski with Newton's activity on the defensive end.
Fuller actually is a little slow turning to the basket. The ball sort of slips out of his hand, which gives Newton a chance to go after it.
Newton takes a seat as Krzyzewski goes to his bench against Stan Brunson, this time the senior out of Newark, Delaware, coming into the game. One of the many who's got some injuries in his past. Injured himself on the opening day of practice last year. As you look at Newton, the highly celebrated Canadian recruit that is living up to the advanced billing this year in terms of his personal numbers. Now they'd like to get those team numbers to match them. We're tied at 8.
This is a tough matchup for Wojciechowski. Benjamin really quick.
Capel gets it inside with himself. Not there.
It appears obvious the Blue Devil strategy is to attack Fuller. They've been doing it all night. Domzalski just didn't get that one to go in the basket.
Strong dumps it to Fuller. Every shot is challenged. And this time he does manage the foul.
Mike Krzyzewski asking for a push-off foul against Fuller. Todd Fuller really struggling on the offensive end right here. Doesn't really catch the ball cleanly. Takes it up, tries with the right hand. You can see what Mike Krzyzewski's talking about. A little bit of a push-off with the left hand. Domzalski picks up the foul, but Fuller got himself positioned well inside. He'll score most of the time on that play.
Todd Fuller, Phi Beta Kappa, math major. His only B came in data, abstractions, and structures. He's leading the ACC in PPGs and GPA. We'll be back after this message from CarQuest Auto Parts. Chilly night here on Tobacco Road. A good night to be in the house enjoying some hoops.
Not nearly as chilly as it's been, Tim.
Collins with a 3. Oh, trust me, I flew through the fun today. It'll get a little chillier tomorrow. Strong with the left hand inside the arc for 2. He has 6 of the Wolfpack's 12.
Team's playing very efficiently on the offensive end, both sides.
Price the floater.
Once again, going right to the basket and attacking Fuller.
Duke by 1. That's Ricky Price's first 2. Fuller. Oh, my, a three-pointer. You know, it's really interesting. This is a guy, Todd Fuller, that in his first 3 years was 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. He's now 9 of 24 this season alone. That's obviously an aspect of his game he really worked on, and one of the reasons he's going to be a #1 draft pick.
But he's got to be careful in this game today that he doesn't get in foul trouble, because the Blue Devils are just penetrating by the Wolfpack on the perimeter, taking it right at Todd Fuller. He's done a nice job to not foul so far in the game.
Short of Newton for Duke. Wojo finds Wallace. Great dish. Excellent pass.
Pinkins just lost him inside. You got to make sure you find those guys in the blue shirt right next to the basket.
After the timeout, Pinkins coming into the game along with Clint Harrison, 23, who has the ball now for the Wolfpack. Tend to do that to Wojciechowski, trying to post him up. No conversion that time, and the quick outlet.
There's Wallace. Yeah. Wallace really doing a great job in transition for Duke, and Duke trying to push the basketball, and they've been very successful thus far.
Fuller again with that quick double team, leading to a turnover. And, you know, he senses that, and I believe he's a little nervous because of it when he gets the ball on the baseline. That'll be a block against Marshall.
Duke has done an outstanding job pushing the ball in transition. One of the reasons that they lead by 2 points. Wallace, in particular, has done a nice job getting out in front of the break. A good pass by Collins that time. You mentioned Fuller, Tim. Fuller caught the ball inside, but his teammates stood around and watched him, and the turnover was because he didn't have anybody to throw the ball to.
Jeff Capel hits the 3. 20-15 Duke by 5. Almost 7 minutes deep in the opening half. here in Raleigh.
Duke trying to pay attention to Fuller. Newton doing a nice job sliding around from one side to the other. Fuller hasn't been able to pin Newton behind him on very many occasions.
They've really been more effective when he's gone to the high post. This time he floats away, rejected by Wallace.
That's the third shot Fuller's had blocked tonight.
2 by Newton. That's the first for Wallace. Here he is again on both ends of the floor.
And again, he's going right at Fuller. Now, that's a guy, he's got 10 points in the game, Tim. That's what you want to do when the coach gives you a start. What a catch. What a great catch. And there Newton picks up his second foul. Fuller just a little slow getting the ball up to the basket. A very strong move after a great catch.
Well, it is the 6th different lineup utilized by Coach K this year. He's been around long enough to make quality decisions, even in a season when he's 0-4, starting out in the ACC. Still makes pretty good decisions.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that, Tim. The problem for Mike Krzyzewski is there's not very many buttons on that control board over there. Fuller hits the first shot, but it's not a very deep team, and so Newton getting in early foul trouble with Duke playing very well. We'll just have to wait and see what effect that has on this game.
Well, they lost Trajan Langdon during the summer. You know, that's one of those buttons that could have been pushed.
They lost Tony Moore to academic suspension as well, so those were 2 guys who were going to play a lot.
22-17. Blue Devils by 5. Domzalski back into the game.
These are going to be some big minutes for Domzalski, and there's the turnover by Duke.
Quality defense that time from Jason Sutton to help force that turnover. Sutton, number 10 in white, just into the game. As now Harrison joins Oshawa Benjamin.
And Duke shows zone. Duke showing a 2-3 zone.
And it's very cognizant of where Fuller is located. Benjamin, nice dish to Pinkins. Fuller, the putback.
Once again, Benjamin showing you that quickness off the dribble and the ability to find the open man in traffic inside. Nice play.
Collins, the cutter. And Collins does manage an offensive foul. Quality defense by Benjamin coming over to pick up that player control foul. Chris Collins picks up his first. Devils lead it by 3. We return after this message from Bud Light.
When you're dealing with the ACC's leading scorer and second leading rebounder, you better know where he is. Domzalski steps toward the penetration. Nobody blocks out Fuller, and he's able to get the rebound and put it back in. Domzalski's got to make a decision. If he's going to go after the dribbler, then somebody's got to rotate down and get Fuller. Nobody did that time. The big guy has 11. He's going to take a breather right now. Duke shooting the ball very, very well.
And Fuller's best offense has been on putbacks. He's on the bench now, and Pinkins gets his first basket.
Wolfpack shooting percentage is going to go way up if they continue to get shots like that.
Collins on the wing. Les Robinson wanted to walk. Didn't get the call. Price, nice spin, lost it in the air. Quality D from Clint Harrison. He stripped him, and here's Benjamin for 3.
Benjamin's now 1 for his last 26 3-point shots.
Turnover by Harrison. 4th turnover committed by North Carolina State.
That's right there. Duke has good success early attacking the basket. Haven't been able to do that the last couple of trips.
Benjamin looks for Pinkins again. He was on the inline. That'll be Duke basketball. And Wojciechowski will come back into the game for the Blue Devils. Carmen Wallace has been very active, takes the seat. Next to that point guard-laden assistant staff of amateur and Quinn Snyder.
Mike Krzyzewski obviously trying to get a lot of guys minutes early in the basketball game. It's very hot in here, trying to keep kid spread. Duke now with the 3-guard offense.
Capel. Domzowski touched it last. It'll belong to NC State. Don't you think, Dan, that he understands that his options are far more limited down the stretch without a Langdon? He had that stress problem with his left leg, a stress reaction after having an ankle sprain earlier. So he's got to get those guys in now.
Oh, there's no question. You've got to keep everybody's legs fresh, and you've got to get some guys some minutes because they're obviously going to play a lot this year.
Sutton can't connect from deep. Price pulls it down.
Duke's gone a while since they scored. Well, they're not getting very good looks at the basket, Tim.
And Chris has had an excellent perimeter shooting year. Although this team has lost 4 games in the ACC, Chris is having a quality senior year with touch. Better than 40% from beyond the arc. They do force the turnover. Blue Devils defense keeping them in it during this scoring drought. The Wolfpack on a 6-love run during the last couple of minutes.
One of the problems that Oshawa Benjamin has had is with decision-making. That time he was trying to post up Wojciechowski. Wojciechowski moved his feet very well, and when Collins came over to double team, Benjamin walked.
Wojciechowski trying to get past Marshall, but can't.
And without the threat of Newton on the inside, Duke's having a tough time getting the ball to the basket. Collins is going to pick up the foul on the drive, but without Newton in the game, Duke's offense suddenly has become very, very perimeter-oriented. There you see Newton on the bench with 2 personal fouls.
Sutton picked up that foul, his first. Collins will trigger it in underneath the Duke basket. You're right, they need that big guy to make that initial pass. That offense needs to run through somewhat.
Fuller getting a long breather on the sideline for North Carolina State.
Brunson trying to get in position, but he's having difficulty on the blocks. Wojciechowski. Oh, the bank is open late. Down the road from Durham.
That one doesn't count. He didn't call it.
25-21. But Duke has really become perimeter without Newton in the game.
North Carolina State defense doing a great job moving their feet on the perimeter, and there's one of those threes. Wolfpack likes to shoot them.
Danny Strong, the junior from Great Falls, South Carolina, Spartanburg Methodist Junior College, answering with a tray.
And even with 2 personal fouls, Newton is up and is at the scorer's table.
Capel again for 3. Jeff Capel has a pair from beyond the arc and 8 in the game, 28-24.
It's okay if you're going to be perimeter-oriented as long as all those threes go in the basket.
Newton and Carmen Wallace will check back in the next dead ball. Capel lost the rebound, thought there had been some contact. Hyatt needs some help. Quick move. Nice. On the baseline, Jeremy Hyatt taking his game inside. And it's a 2-point lead for the Blue Devils.
The North Carolina State man-to-man defense has been very good on the perimeter. They haven't allowed the dribble penetration. At least for about the last 6 or 7 minutes. Duke was getting the ball to the basket early in the game. They haven't been able to do that for about the last 8 minutes.
Wojciechowski trying to accomplish that feat. Leads to a turnover. Sutton has Hyatt on the wing. Oh, great look to Harrison. Hyatt could have taken that tray. Thought better of it. And the crowd applauds the team play. A 20-second timeout. Nations Bank, a corporate partner of the 1996 Olympics, presents this Olympic Salute to Excellence question. Who was the lone collegian on the 1990 later? For those of you that can't. I'm not sure you're allowed to live in this state if you don't know the answer to that question.
At least not down the road.
That's right. Just over 6 minutes left here in the opening half. Jim Brando, Dan Bonner, happy to have you with us. We've had 3 ties and 4 lead changes in this game. Capel leads to yet another lead change. He has 10.
That time, Duke got inside the defense and was able to make an open pass to an open guy.
Fuller back in.
And Newton's got to be careful in there. He simply cannot be as aggressive defensively against Fuller as he was earlier. Nice job by North Carolina State to exploit that situation.
Newton setting up for a pick and roll with Collins. State defended it well. With 1 on the shot. Doesn't call. Sutton lost it, but Hyatt retrieves it.
Little things sometimes, Tim. Wojciechowski just didn't hold on to the pass, and that wrecked the whole sequence, and Marshall misses that through.
Tell you, Strong is impressive. At his size, he can post up very well down there on the low block. Very active. Foul off the ball. A push on Strong. On Strong, a little too active down there. 4:45 remaining. Boy, talk about Gugliotta, who manufactured himself a career. How about Todd Fuller? Achilles tendon that costs him a season. Another one of the buttons for Les Robinson taken away that he could possibly push down the stretch. But as you look at our score, we're tied at 30 with 4:45 remaining. Injuries are very much a part of the game. I get the feeling that Les Robinson is very happy with the way his team is coming along, particularly off that Florida State win.
His Florida State win was obviously a big one. Anytime you get your first ACC win and you defend your home court, that's an important occasion, and Les Robinson's team played very well in the second half of that game. And North Carolina State's doing an outstanding defensive job in the first half here.
Collins off the dribble. Chris, who was a paltry 17 of 73 last year from beyond the arc. 44% this season. At a season high of 30 against Iowa. Very important game played in Alaska. Wagner just in off the back iron, controlled by Price.
You can see the attention that Fuller draws inside. Wagner had all day to shoot that ball. Excellent pass by Fuller. Collins just dribbled it off his foot.
That is the 6th turnover by the Blue Devils. And you see Chris, my bad. And we'll be back right after this message from Bud Light.
It's second down at Bud Bowl, and you're in the game.
The dream team that captured the gold medal in Barcelona had to be Christian Laettner,
who was a member of a couple of dream teams at Duke University.
Back-to-back national titles. We'll never forget that magnificent shot in the regional final at the Meadowlands to knock off Kentucky. One of the greatest games ever played.
Duke has shown some zone defense in the first half, but for the most part, they've been man-to-man.
Hyatt banks one.
You got to be kidding me. I guess if Wojciechowski can bank it in, Hyatt can respond with a bank shot. You got to be kidding.
Well, I'm known for saying the iron kind, but the backboard is being awfully giving. We're tied at 33. Price. That one deflected by Hyatt. And we've got a jump ball. Les Robinson is beside himself. Arrow goes to North Carolina State.
You know, it's pretty hot in here, and if Les is going to get that worked up, he's going to have to take that sweater off. Duke trying to get close to the basket again. Excellent defense by Hyatt. The jump ball call as Fuller falls out of bounds.
Domzowski trying to stay with him. Fuller's fall away. doesn't go out of bounds. It will be controlled to Duke.
If Duke can get Todd Fuller to fall away with his shot like that, that's what they want. Mike Krzyzewski would be very happy seeing Todd Fuller shoot the ball falling away from the basket.
Clint Harrison, 23, back into the game, joined by Pinkins.
Mike Krzyzewski doesn't have any problem at all with the effort that his kids are putting out. They've played very, very hard, and once again, they're involved in another close game.
As we touched on at the top of the show, they've been so competitive, leading in the first half in all of their ACC losses. You wonder if the fatigue factor doesn't enter into it as Collins connects down the stretch, particularly when you're shy of a solid front court.
I think when you lose 4 games after leading at halftime, Tim, that's a thought that has to enter your mind. Right there, the thought that entered Collins' mind was getting to the basket.
Pinkins not there. Fuller, he's been more effective tonight on the offensive glass than out of offensive sets. And he draws the foul.
North Carolina State hasn't had very many breakdowns in the latter stages of this first half out on the perimeter, but that time they have one, and Collins just with a great drive to the basket. Nobody comes to stop him. The young man takes it all the way to the goal.
Price picked up that foul his first. Joshua Benjamin lost that one out. I think Duke felt that the ball actually caromed off of the bottom of the backboard.
I think it did, but after Carmen Wallace hit it, and now I think we're going to get a foul on Domzalski. We are.
That's his second. Now you start thinking about, well, Newton's got a couple, Domzalski gets a couple, and you know you're short at that spot on the Duke pine.
Of course, Fuller is going to cause those kind of problems. Trying to guard the big guy inside, he's going to get the ball, and he's going to attack the basket.
Fuller's threat to hit threes now makes him a multi-dimensional big player. Benjamin can't hit. Loose ball gained by Pinkins. And that has been the story on him.
Mike Krzyzewski off the bench telling Carmen Wallace, get up, don't lay there. The ball just squirted through Wallace's hands.
Tied yet again at 35. Loose ball. Pinkins is on the deck. Tie ball with the arrow to Duke. And the Blue Devils will retain it.
That time, Collins tried to get to the basket with good defense. Pretty good block out as the ball comes down. Pinkins does a great job just shoving Wallace under the basket, and then he flat beats him to the ball. Wallace just got out hustled, and I think that's why Wallace is out of the game and sitting next to Quinn Snyder over there on the bench.
With a second chance points, all with NC State, really keeping them in this game.
Remember, Newton has been out of the game. NC State with 8 offensive rebounds. Newton has spent a lot of time on the bench the first half. And that's helped NC State.
Right. The runner won't go. Pinkins clears. Wagner on the run. Out of bounds, last touch by Duke. We're talking about Pinkins and the injuries. Dan, I think one of the most interesting things about this guy, out of Capola Junior College, everyone knew he was an explosive player. He's had 2 knee injuries, and while his explosion maybe isn't there, his lateral movement and quickness underneath allows him to get a lot of putback baskets.
And he certainly plays with a lot of intensity, and that doesn't hurt either.
Benjamin out high.
Now 1 for his last 28 shooting threes. Maybe he ought to can that shot for a while.
Yep. He's been an enigma. Many thought that NC State's great run this year would come courtesy Fuller inside and Joshua Benjamin outside. At this point, it just hasn't happened for Benjamin.
About 3 seconds difference between the shot clock and the game clock as we tick down toward the end of the half.
Capel on the drive. Pinkins again keeping it alive. Price. Nothing doing. tied at 35. Halftime activities coming up right after this. Foul prone. Duke's got big problems again down the stretch.
Well, one of the problems for Duke, you say, well, they played pretty good defense, but your defense doesn't end until you get the ball. And the offensive rebounding really telling the story for North Carolina State. You'd expect the Wolfpack to be scoring a lot from three-point range. They are not, but their offensive rebounds have really been the key to the game. In fact, Jeremy Hyatt is the only perimeter-type guy who has scored for North Carolina State. Benjamin and Marshall have not scored yet.
The numbers would lead you to believe things are looking up for the home team. But we'll soon find out as Duke looks for that elusive first ACC win.
Jefferson Pilot Sports' exclusive coverage of ACC basketball is brought to you by Discus Athletic, by DirecTV, by Nationwide Insurance, by Plymouth, by Advance Auto Parts, and by Bud Light.
The Duke Blue Devils have never been behind at halftime in an ACC game. In fact, they've been up in all of the games prior to tonight, but the second half has been a case of the blues for the Blue Devils.
Tim, in the first two ball games, they shot the ball better in the second half, but it was rebounding and turnovers, and in their last two ACC contests, they just shot the ball horribly in the second half, and so we'll have to see how this second half is going to play out for the Blue Devils.
There's the entry pass to Fuller, and a soft left-hander in the lane, most effective. He has 15.
And the Wolfpack continues their dominance on the inside.
Newton loses it.
Now, Newton only played 9 minutes in the first half, and when you're a starter and you're used to getting a lot of minutes, sometimes it's difficult to get back into the flow of the game.
I got a feeling after watching the game that Newton, I thought, played very well in against Tim Duncan, that he just wore down as that game went on. Tonight it's a question of just staying in the game.
Doesn't want to pick up that third foul early. There's Benjamin missing another shot.
Price pulls it down. Capel nearly lost the dribble. Did a nice job of stopping the double dribble, which could have easily happened. Newton, against another team, draws the foul. Fuller likely to pick that one up. Hyatt was giving him some help.
That is Fuller. That's his first foul, but early in the basketball game, Duke was attacking Fuller on the inside, and Newton, he's not afraid to take it up against anybody. When Newton's on the bench, they just don't have that kind of a threat inside, so even after he lost the ball out of bounds the first time, the Blue Devils come back and go right to him again.
Greg Newton, along with Jeff Capel, are the only two Devils to have started every game. And tonight, Mike Krzyzewski made another change, turning to Carmen Wallace, who had an excellent first 5 minutes. You look at Jeff Capel, he's still waiting really to develop the kind of consistency that they really expect from him. Night in and night out, Chris Collins has probably been the most effective player for the Blue Devils.
Duke in the man-to-man defense.
Harrison. Clint Harrison with a soft, feathery touch from three. The sophomore from Reedsville has fouled. Wallace. Now that reminds you of the first 5 minutes of the first half.
He beat Strong a couple of times early. In fact, he had 10 points early in the game. It's been a while since he scored. He's got 12 now.
Marshall the crossover dribble to get past Collins for an easy one.
Neither coach can be satisfied with a guy who penetrates past your people out at the top of the team, goes all the way to the basket.
42-39, and a foul off the ball.
Marshall's going to pick up the foul against Collins.
His second.
You can see Collins and Marshall laughing.
They always notice the little guys when they're throwing elbows off the ball, right?
Well, the little guys don't have as, they're not as practiced. You can't do it right in front of the official.
Price up high. Wallace trying to save it and does to Newton. Collins for three. Fuller rips it down.
Boy, that was one that Collins really stepped into it. A good-looking shot. It just doesn't go in.
7 rebounds in the game for Todd Fuller. He's headed for a double-double.
Hyatt, count it, and a foul.
You know, Tim, it's one of those situations where you got a guy like Newton. He's going to pick up a foul trying to help out one of his teammates. Hyatt is all alone inside. Somebody lost him, and it's almost always the case. He gets the big guy in foul trouble, and he gets deeper in trouble by going to try to help out. That's 3 fouls now on Newton, and he didn't pick that one up trying to guard Fuller.
Hyatt, known more for his outside game, has been driving to the basket with authority tonight.
He didn't drive to the basket that time. He just parked himself under there. A defensive breakdown for the Blue Devils. And a very slow start to the second half for Duke.
Wallace, Capel, the offensive rebound. Collins
Short.
an air ball.
And the one thing that Mike Krzyzewski doesn't want to see now is his kids hanging their heads. Collins missed that shot, and his chin sort of dropped down to his chest, and Duke can't afford that. Zone defense for the Blue Devils.
Always looking to try to find a crease to Fuller. Another drive, this time from Clint Harrison. He has 7. Timeout, Duke. 35. They've outscored the Devils 12-4 in less than 3 minutes to open the second half.
Tim, it's hard to score if you're not shooting the ball. Duke has only attempted 2 field goals in this half.
Capel lost it on the way up, retrieved by Price. Newton. Not there. Price again active on the offensive glass. An incredible save to Collins. Wallace loses it. Boy, the state pressure on the perimeter now. Really difficult for Duke to deal with.
If you're Mike Krzyzewski, you don't want Carmen Wallace dribbling the ball out of the key.
He doesn't appear to be too pleased with what just transpired. I think you're right.
Duke has the basketball. 28 seconds on the shot clock. Blue Devils really struggling offensively early in the second half, and Duke just does not have the kind of team, or at least they haven't shown it early in the ACC schedule, that they're going to be able to come back from too far down.
Now you see all of the minutes played in the first half by those key players for Duke. Now understand, looking at that no starter for North Carolina State played more than 14 minutes in that first half. So fatigue, heavy legs down the stretch, particularly when you're not playing at home. Maybe that's part of their blues in the second half.
I think as a coach, you'd be reluctant to admit that. But you just can't overlook that it may be a possibility.
Brings it down. Look at that, Duke, 13% in the second half, but not launching many. Fuller can't hit. Collins up there to bring it down.
One of the problems that Duke is having, Tim, is they just don't get very many easy baskets. There's the foul by Hyatt. When Duke was in their glory days, they could rely on their defense to create turnovers and give them plenty of easy opportunities. But if you think about it, Duke has not really had very many easy transition opportunities that have been created by their defense. So part of the problem is Duke's defense is solid enough to play their opponents straight up, to play them pretty well in the half-court situation, but it's a defense that just isn't generating turnovers and easy baskets.
Domzalski and Wojciechowski have come back into the game for the Blue Devils. As Collins and Carmen Wallace to that Price. Not there. Even the easy ones won't fall now. And the foul on Domzalski. That'll be his third.
Tim, that was a close opportunity for Price, but I don't know that that was necessarily an easy shot. That was a drive to the basket. You had Todd Fuller in there defending. That was a tough, contested opportunity. Duke has to somehow, probably through their defense, create some easier opportunities to get some better looks at the basket.
Les Robinson trying to pull even with this team. Certainly he has been scrutinized enough here along Tobacco Road, but his club has played well in the last 3 outings. If you look back, that road loss at Virginia, albeit Virginia struggling offensively this year, should have given him a pretty good sign. And then, of course, the win against Florida State and the non-conference win over Central Florida coming into tonight's game. Good look to Pinkins. Count it, and another foul.
Tim, it's easy to see the contrast in this second half. Duke getting tough shots, NC State getting easy opportunities. Pinkins, good fake, but great strength to get it up there, despite the fact you got a 240-pound guy falling on you.
Fourth foul, first team foul. Pinkins gets one.
Pinkins beginning to take the ball inside a bit more. Still possesses the good wing jump shot. This is the largest lead of the game. First double digit for either team. 49-39, North Carolina State.
One of Duke's problems has been inability to score for key stretches in basketball games, and there Pinkins, I think, is going to get the foul hanging on to Newton, and that's where Duke is struggling right now, Tim. They play defense well enough to stay in most games, but eventually the game's going to come down to the fact that you got to be able to score, and Duke just struggling putting the ball in the basket.
That's the first foul on Pinkins. Wojciechowski to trigger it in. Price again into the lane, and he makes it count. You figure both he and Capel are capable of keeping Duke in it, even with Collins struggling from the perimeter as he is tonight. Fuller, good ball fake. It was soft with the jumper, but the follow won't go. All down by Taman Domzalski. Newton stripped by Fuller. Has to give it up. Capel the no-look. Newton was not prepared for that pass. Just the 8th turnover of the game. It seems as if we've seen more than just 8.
Ricky Price, this is the last Duke basket, and he created that simply by exploding from the perimeter. Duke scoring really in the second half. One-on-one moves.
49-41.
Newton, who comes in leading the ACC in field goal shooting, is only 2 of 10 tonight.
Fuller. Todd Fuller, who's the leading scorer in this league, now has 17 in this game. Just 5 under his average.
NC State really making Duke work for everything they get on the offensive end.
Collins is back in the game. Price, high arching 360 ball away off the glass. He has 6, and they have all been tough shots. Hyatt for 3. Domzalski rips it down. He missed Collins deep. Now the pass comes late. Out of bounds to Duke.
Duke's last 4 points have come off Ricky Price using his great ability. That time the spin move, tremendous jumping ability to get the ball in the basket. Tough shots. Now, Duke has really not played well offensively in the second half, Tim, but keep in mind they are only down 8 points in this basketball game.
Timeout Duke. If they have difficulty with the inbounds, they want a 20. That's what Mike Krzyzewski will get. Let's take a look at our ACC Smart Play of the week. North Carolina against Clemson. Dean Smith loves to see this. All 5 players involved, a lot of touches. And once Calabria gets it, yet another quality find to Jamison for the easy slam. North Carolina with our Advanced Auto Parts Smart Play of the week.
Pretty soon we're going to have to call that the Dante Calabria Smart Play of the week.
He'll make a few, to be sure.
Boy, Duke still can't get it inbound. Clear out for Price.
Wojciechowski steps in, knocks it down. His first basket.
6-point game.
His first basket of the half. It's a 5-point night for Wojo as Price slams those hands to the floor in Duke tradition. The Blue Devils know they have to do it with defense tonight. Benjamin finds Strong wide open.
Oh, what a great rebound by Price.
Newton is down there, but he missed him. The solo won't go.
We've got a foul on the inside.
That will go against Joshua Benjamin, it appears. Or maybe Fuller. Yes, it is Fuller. That was a bailout foul because Duke really had an open opportunity. Price missed Newton down the floor, who was wide open. Newton this time makes it count.
That's a great job to recognize Newton matched up against Strong down on the block.
When Collins' playing days are done, he's decided he's going to be a coach. Continuing to follow the path of his father, Doug Collins, now the head coach of the Pistons. Fuller not there. Oh, the follow rejected by Newton. He and Domzalski combined to reject him. Tough pass. Collins throws it away. 11:40 remaining. NC State's lead whittled down to 4. Domzalski is gone with 5.
So that should be a pretty big turnaround right there. Duke had it down to 2. Strong hits the jump shot.
Now that's one of those, you mark it down and you say, well, if Duke had made a mini run, State gets an answer. If they were to convert here and make it a 4 or 5-point swing, and they could, and they did, look out. They may point back to this segment of the game as Clint Harrison hits the trade. 56-49.
That was a big trip down the court for North Carolina State.
Newton lost it. Collins, he walked. Now with Domzalski not available, Duke's options become even more limited. They have to go small with Carmen Wallace back in the game, joining Capel, Price, Collins, and Greg Newton.
And keep in mind, without Newton in the game most of the first half, Duke was small and North Carolina State dominated the backcourt.
Strong trying to post up Wallace. Fuller up high. That's a 2-pointer. Todd Fuller has 19. And now an 8-0 run since Duke had cut it to 2. Collins. Fuller brings it down. His 11th board, so he's got his double-double. Sutton, it deflected off him. Collins with some excellent defense.
James Sutton just got a technical foul. Sutton just got a technical foul. He said one of the magic words.
One of those magic words you can hear on Sunday afternoons in the NFL is
That's just not a very heady play right there.
Particularly given the fact that your club is on a run. And that man knows it. You can bet Les Robinson is not pleased at all with that, because now you put Collins, an excellent free throw shooter, at the line.
The problem right there is you can feel anything you want. The official cannot call a technical foul on you for what you think, but you better be careful about articulating your thoughts with the referee standing right there.
Collins, with a rare miss, gets one of the two, but Duke has the basketball as Sutton takes a seat. Wojciechowski back into the game. Jeff Capel sitting down for the Blue Devils.
Shot clock at the moment is not operating down on the Duke end of the basketball court. That's fine. That one's working great. Now it's going to go on.
Curtis Marshall. He's joined by Benjamin,
Hyatt,
Fuller, and Strong for North Carolina State.
Good defensive reaction by North Carolina State that time.
Price really trying to do it on his own now. Out of bounds. Last touch by Hyatt. Control to Duke. 20 left on the shot clock.
Boy, Hyatt's got his hands full trying to guard Price. Price gets up ahead of steam with that good, quick first step. He gets by Hyatt and then powering his way to the basket.
As he develops his strength, and he will under Mike Krzyzewski, his best days are still yet to be played at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Very versatile offensive talent, Ricky Price. There's the dump down. Newton loses it. Joshua Benjamin got his hand in again. Strong turns it over.
North Carolina State has had the opportunity to put Duke away, Tim, and they haven't really done it. Unless Robinson knows that. Duke was back within two. North Carolina State on a run, and now Duke has dodged a couple of bullets. North Carolina State had 2 or 3 different opportunities to go up by double figures, and they weren't able to accomplish it.
Collins finds Wojciechowski for 3. Air ball. Strong brings it down. Quick outlet to Curtis Marshall. Tough pass. Hyatt reels it in and finds Fuller. Rejected by Wallace. Strong to follow. Hyatt again. Yet another second chance, turning into a third chance. That alley-oop goes off the backboard, and Les Robinson wants a quick 20. You think he senses what you touched on a moment ago? These possessions become a little more important, and he wants his team to play with a little more control. More ACC action coming up Saturday, January 20th. Make your plans to be with us on many of these Raycom Jefferson Pilot sports stations, or the same North Carolina State Wolfpack against the Maryland Terrapins. And a win tonight would really help their feelings going in to Maryland.
If you're going to compete in this league or in any league, you have to win your games at home, and that makes this game very important for North Carolina State. Of course, they'd like to go on the road and win at Maryland on Saturday, but they've got to take care of business first here.
It really is hard to say which team needs this game most. I mean, both of them are in desperate need for those 2 reasons. Obviously, State needs to keep their momentum and win at home. Duke is trying to get off the schneid in the ACC, having lost their first 4. Benjamin, quick pass to Hyatt. Oh, that was a great pass.
Duke's defense had withstood a couple of rushes, but their offense simply was not able to convert, and the Wolfpack getting it inside once again. Now they have that double-figure lead.
Price again. He will draw a foul at the very least each time he does that. Krzyzewski pointing out
his defensive
adjustment. Who has Curtis Marshall?
You can read his lips there. He said, yep. You have Benjamin, and then you have Marshall. Whoever you is, I hope they understood.
Price at the line. All the great years, the 7 Final Fours, the consecutive NCAA championships, only a few years removed, and yet how difficult this business can become to produce year in and year out. Benjamin, the quick outlet. Marshall driving and drawing the foul. Price picking it up. His second.
Really impressed with the way North Carolina State has attacked the basket in this ball game. They come in with a reputation as a team that likes to take the three-point shots, but they've been very judicious in their shot selection this evening.
It's a 9-point lead for the Wolfpack. We'll be back after this message. So it's much the same way in this heat of venerable Reynolds Coliseum. Yet another packed house for this tremendous rivalry between Duke and North Carolina State. Tim Brando along with Dan Bonner. Happy to have you with us. 9-point lead for NC State. It was 35-35 tie at intermission. Devils made a run, cut it to 2, then surrendered a 5-point play to NC State at the 11-minute mark, and that really is the reason that the Blue Devils find themselves down by 9 with 7:35 and counting. Fuller lost it. Wojciechowski right between his legs at 5'11", gets the tie ball and the arrow to the Blue Devils.
Fuller was asking for the basketball, and I think if that guy asked me for it, I'd give it to him. It just slipped through his hands, and Wojciechowski showing the kind of hustle that Duke has demonstrated in this game and in their previous 4 ACC games.
His father was a lacrosse player, and Mike Krzyzewski will go on and on about Wojciechowski and his upbringing. His father, Edward, played at Maryland in lacrosse. He'll run up and down mountains for you. But I'm not certain if that entry pass is not a bounce pass. Wojo has no shot at that.
Certainly Wojo doesn't have a shot unless the ball's on the floor.
Got to be near the deck.
Good option to go under the wickets, though, to get it.
Al Pinkins has come back into the game for NC State.
North Carolina State showed a really good three-point offense in the first half of their loss to Virginia. And if they can find that offense here in the last 7:20, they still have a shot in this ball game.
Wojciechowski for 3. Strong gets the long rebound. Todd Fuller getting the blow with this smaller lineup with Pinkins now responsible for the rebounding chores with Big Todd sitting down.
Really been an offensive struggle for Duke in the second half.
Boy, has he been active tonight. And a double dribble. Duke gets it back.
That's the kind of shot that Les Robinson doesn't want at this point in the game. There's no reason for Pinkins to rise up and shoot that one from three-point range. Les Robinson wants the Wolfpack to run their offense. Not necessarily, they're not trying to hold the ball or run a lot of time off the clock, but they just want to run through their offense, make Duke play defense a little bit, and improve on that record.
That record, of course, founded through those tremendous years. You think about it. Everett Case, who gave Les Robinson his first job as an assistant in '64, as a GA, a grad assistant in those days. Price, again, trying to do it on his own, needs some help from Collins and gets it. Chris gets the roll, a little shooter's touch that draw the Blue Devils to within 7. He has 11 on the night.
If Duke could just get it started on the offensive end, Tim, they are still in this basketball game.
Strong over Wallace. A long rebound to Price, and he has numbers. Collins a pull-up for 3. He enjoyed that one, and it's 60-56, a 4-point game. Chris Collins, the spiritual and offensive leader for the Blue Devils, hits a 3-point bomb to draw the Blue Devils to within 4. 5:57 remaining. We'll be back after this message from Bud Light. Prohibited.
Tim, it's very hot in here. Everybody perspiring. Players, coaches, everybody. The ball's wet and it's hard to hold.
Announcers, Fuller gets the roll. He has 21.
And, of course, during that timeout, Les Robinson got Fuller up and got him back in the game, and then they went right to him.
The lead is 6. Collins, who's hit the last 5 points for the Blue Devils, now has 14 in the game as he tries to become a focal point. Price can't get it to fall. Keeps it alive for Collins again. Capel with a baseline drive. Count it, and a foul. Collins right there with him to give him a jockocracy handshake.
This is just good effort by the Duke Blue Devils. Even though they're struggling, they still keep the basketball, get a second chance opportunity, and then Jeff Capel, very powerful, taking the ball all the way to the board.
Mike Krzyzewski has done a nice job of spreading the floor and allowing his guards some room to work. Curtis Marshall picked up that foul, his third. You raised the issue a little earlier, though, NC State shot selection, particularly when Fuller was out of the game during that stretch.
Well, I think we're going to see the ball in Fuller's hands. He may not be shooting every time, but I think when he's in the ball game and is the focal point of the offense, you try to get the ball in his hands, you have a little patience.
He does draw the foul, which is going to be generally the best-case scenario for Duke. Now, for Duke, that is his fourth. So now the center position has but one to give. Domzowski already gone.
And what this does, the problem that it creates for Duke, if Newton is going to be in the game and Fuller's going to catch the ball every time down the court, and you have to believe that he is, Newton really has to be able to play aggressively. So he can't worry about picking up that fifth foul. He's got to go after him. Fuller hits the first one, but if Newton fouls out, then Duke really has nobody who can guard Fuller.
Todd Fuller sent a strong message earlier this year when he had 30 points and 14 rebounds in a game effort against Marcus Camby and UMass. He's played very well against every big-time center he's faced, and he has 23 points and 12 boards tonight. 64-59.
Even though North Carolina State has the Fuller weapon, if Duke can get it going on the offensive end, they are still in the basketball game. Their problem has not been on the defensive end, it's been on the offensive end.
Collins lost it in the air. Capers with Riggs. Oh, what a great adjustment by Collins. He was caught in midair in no man's land. Has the presence of mind to give that little touch pass. What could have been a turnover for a lot of guys.
Three-pointers the new way and the old way have gotten Duke back in this ball game.
Down by a deuce. Carmen Wallace picks up the foul.
This foul is on Price, number 3.
Duke has not had a lot of breaks tonight, but this is one of them as Collins slaps the ball, avoids the turnover. Not only avoids the turnover, picks up the assist as well.
1-and-1 time. We're in the bonus. The rest of the way for NC State. That was the 7th team foul committed by Duke.
Benjamin going to the free throw line hasn't scored tonight, Tim.
Averaging just over 9 a game, but has been documented struggling with his shot in a big way, both at the line and from the floor, particularly from deep.
Boy, and you know Duke wanted that rebound. Pinkins just a nice, quick move into the lane. Plenty of time for North Carolina State. See if they don't work to get it into Fuller's hands.
Setting up the pick. Steal by Price. Couldn't control it. Last touch by Collins.
That's great effort by Chris Collins.
He'll take the heat from the student body. He enjoys it. Just a pleasure to be around. That young man.
The fans very close to the floor right here, much like at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Only 9 seconds on the shot clock. So North Carolina State trying to be patient, doesn't have a lot of time. And here, you know, with all the perspiration and the heat in here, there's a lot of wet spots on the floor. The ball's wet, the players' hands are wet. It's just very difficult to manage in here. Those guys right there, the ball boys, they become a key factor in the game. Dan Rode out there looks like he's getting the batter's box ready.
See, it's good to get airtime, but not necessarily from that angle. That's one of the, if you're going to get into television, young man, you want to make sure you get a better camera angle on those on-camera opportunities.
And you would know all about getting camera angles on on-camera opportunities. And right when they were wiping up, Price just fell down. and Larry Rose is going to call a timeout. That is exactly where they were wiping it up, and Price just fell down right there. Now, the interesting thing about this, Les Robinson is pointing to the shot clock. 2 seconds ticked off the shot clock. And see, Les Robinson is saying, I want those 2 seconds back. There were 9 seconds on the shot clock. They inbounded the ball. Price did the split. Now, see, this is a different kid out wiping up the floor. Maybe he did a better job.
Well, he got better airtime in terms of the angle.
So now they're talking about, and Larry Rose is going to call both of the coaches together. Les Robinson, he understands that it's wet and there's a problem, but he wants those 2 seconds back.
And Larry Rose pointing that out. There are correctable errors, and there are errors that are, and that is a correctable error. Once again, Bonner right on top of it. 3:46 remaining in the game. 9 on the shot clock with this possession.
You see why Les wanted the extra 2 seconds?
Dumps it to Fuller.
And that's a shot clock violation. Fuller got the shot off, but it did not hit the rim. Newton blocked it again.
And he had to rush the shot because Hyatt dumped it to him with less than a second remaining on that shot clock. The Blue Devils had clawed within 2 earlier, you'll recall, and then gave up a 5-point play. At that time, the score was 51-49. It became 56-49. The Blue Devils have clawed away since. Closed to within 2 and shooting for the tie. Newton can't get it. He was poked in the eye. He's down on the deck. He's hurt. So it's 5-on-4 now. And Larry Rose gives the timeout, much to the chagrin of the partisan crowd. Everybody advantage on the other end.
The fans think that just because North Carolina State has the ball that the official can't stop the game. North Carolina State was not attacking the basket, and so the officials, I think, did a good job to stop the game and make sure that the young man isn't hurt. Obviously, he's hurt, but he's not hurt too badly. This is the story of the Duke game tonight. Here, Newton has the ball with an opportunity. Pinkins reaches over and gets him in there. The ball hangs tantalizingly on the rim and then falls off. The Blue Devil problem hasn't been on the defensive end, Tim. It's been on the offensive end in the second half, and they've battled back despite their offensive problems.
And in truth, once Domzowski was gone, Coach Krzyzewski was then put in a position where he had to go small with Capel, Collins, and Price. Price has been the slasher. Collins, a leader both on the defensive end and on the offensive glass. And in many respects, Jeff Capel has come up with some big plays as well. So those guards have kept them in it. You look at our game reset, timeouts remaining, 2 for each. Neither have a foul to give, although the double bonus just a couple of fouls away for NC State.
And now, with Newton out of the ballgame, Wallace is trying to guard Fuller, and this ought to be an adventure. Wallace just face guarding. Standing in front of his hands up in the air. Fuller looking for the ball.
Quick help from Capel, and he draws the foul.
With 35 seconds on the shot clock, North Carolina State has plenty of time to get the ball around and get it into Fuller. Wallace doing the best he can. Fuller holding his hands up. Hey, guys, throw me the ball. Does a great job getting position, not giving up inside. Capel comes over and tries to help, but Fuller's just too much for them in there. Newton back in the game.
Wojciechowski sits down. So Wallace stays on the floor with Price, Capel, Collins, and Newton into the game for Wojo. And Todd Fuller at the line. He has been perfect there so far.
Duke has been within 2 twice in the second half, and North Carolina State has responded.
Now the young man from Charlotte Christian Academy has put in another double-double, 25 points, and a baker's dozen rebounds. Price, there's the splash, but he doesn't get the finish.
And again, the ball is almost down and rolls off. It's got to be so frustrating.
Benjamin Wall. Now, I'm not certain that the perspiration on the floor didn't have something to do with that turnover. It appeared to me as if he might have slipped.
I think the guys in the blue shirts had more to do with that than the perspiration.
Speaking of perspiration, how about Les Robinson? We'll return after these messages from the Atlantic Coast Conference. Newton is checking in. He's playing with 4. Anytime he tries the fronting, Fuller just locks him up. And on the reach-in, foul spotted by Larry Rose.
Wallace coming over to help, just a step late. Fuller does such a great job getting position inside. Now he's got Newton locked behind his back. Newton's got to be careful because he's got those 4 fouls. Wallace got there just a touch late. If he's there a step earlier, he has that bounce pass.
That part of his game, as we're in the 1-and-1, is really where he's improved the last couple of years. And why NBA scouts really believe he's got an outstanding chance of going very high.
I mean, what's not to like about Fuller? He's a great kid.
And he's only gotten better. And I think it's a great example for what can happen with your basketball skills, as well as what you can do academically if you stay the full 4 years. Capel, a floater, not there. Loose ball. Collins looking to save and does to Price. It's a big possession for Duke. Collins with a 3. He's found the zone, and he has 17, and those 2 big threes he's hit in the last 3 minutes have kept his team in it.
Duke will simply not go away. This is an outstanding play by Collins. He came off the scorer's table to hit that one after saving the ball in bounds.
68-66, 1:15 and counting.
Great hands.
Fuller stepping out for 3. Off the front iron. Another offensive rebound for North Carolina State. Les Robinson wants him to run the clock. He did not hit rim, but Marshall did
that time.
So now the shot clock and game clock differential drifts all the way down to 11.
And now what you do is you need a stop here. You do not want to...
And a foul to bail out, just as you were about to mention.
It's one of those situations where you have to decide whether you're going to foul right away or whether you're going to try to play tough defense. And as much as Benjamin has struggled with his shot tonight, that's probably not a bad play at all. Fouling Benjamin in that situation, his last free throw, that's a 10th foul, so I have 2 opportunities, but his last free throw was very nearly an air ball. Young man just has no confidence with his shot. 34 and a half seconds left. The shot clock's off.
Gets the roll, and that's important. It makes it a 3-point game. You figure Collins and Capel, your best options from beyond the arc. Capel drives, takes the 2, and the timeout by Duke, their last. So they choose to take the easy 2 and play defense with 16.7 remaining.
They did not have the open 3-point opportunity, and 3 only ties the game, so Capel takes it to the basket and gets the 2-point opportunity. This is a good play by Jeff Capel. You can see Benjamin coming out to defend the 3. Capel slicing to the basket, looking if he could for the 3-point play opportunity, but as you said, Tim, that makes it a 1-point game. So now if you're the Duke Blue Devils, you set up during the timeout to try to steal the inbounds pass. If you don't, you've got to get the foul right away. One of the keys here on this inbounds play is possibly trying to prevent the good free throw shooters from catching the ball. You certainly don't want to have the ball entered inbounds to Todd Fuller, for example.
And that's the double whammy really that faces Les Robinson, because the guy most likely to control the basketball, one would think, would be Joshua Benjamin.
Well, Benjamin comes in as a 71% free throw shooter. He's 1 for 3 tonight, but remember, he made his last effort, and so that may have given him some confidence. But if you foul right away, even if he makes 2, you're still only down 3, and you can tie with the three-point shot. So here's the situation. Duke has themselves in a position where they could possibly win the game, and the question for them, once again, as it seems to be every night in the ACC, is can they make the play to bring it off?
Can you finish? And that has been the only problem that this Duke team has had this year, the inability to close the deal. And North Carolina State is really in a position where they do have to face the reality of closure.
Now, Duke has come back in this game. In other games, they've been ahead, but in this game, they've battled all the way back. So the question for North Carolina State is about closure, and their Collins picks up the foul. The Wolfpack had a big lead in the second half, and Duke just kept battling away.
Marshall will get to the line.
Marshall, 77.5% from the free throw line, so he's a guy who Les Robinson wants there.
But it will be his first free throw tonight. He has not gotten to the line as yet in this game. By the way, Fuller, in case you were wondering, is 12 of 12 at the line, so he's been making a living there. Benjamin just 1 of 3. But it's Curtis Marshall who will get 2 now.
16 seconds left in the ball game.
Even if he makes them both, Duke can tie with a 3.
It's short.
It's his first free throw. There you haven't shot one tonight.
Now, even if he makes this, Duke can tie with a 2, Tim, and that makes it very much different. You can't just defend that three-point line.
But they can't call a timeout. They'll have to go the distance. Now, checking in defensively, Clint Harrison and Jason Sutton takes the seat. Duke has no timeouts remaining. They'll have to get it in this sequence.
But they only have to get 2. Collins for 3 in the win. Oh, the iron is kind to Chris Collins, and it's a 1-point lead for Duke. Marshall, the distance. Oh, the iron unkind. And Duke gets their first ACC win of the year.
Duke wins 71-70.
What a gritty effort by the Duke Blue Devils. You talk about a kid making a big decision and a big shot here. This is a long-range bomb, and why not? When you're 0-4 in the ACC, we talked about the ball bouncing around and coming off. That time, it bounced around and went in. And here in North Carolina State, this is a good shot by Marshall. This ball very nearly goes in the basket and just bounces out at the last second.
Oh, how rude that rim can be, particularly when it's a shot for the win that doesn't fall. And it didn't for the home standing team, and Duke wins by 1. Back to wrap it up right after this.